What's up, Skinner friends? Welcome to Schopfield Music. This here's a Friday jam, and finally, this one's going out to May I Trigger You, a YouTube request for this song. It got some homework I did. There's this other YouTuber that I like to follow when it comes to Southern rock and Skinner type tones. His name is Tom Segura. I think that's how you say it. He enlightened me on a neat trick that I didn't know about. Now, I play a little bit of slide. I've had quite a few slides over the years trying to find what's going to work best for me. And I always wanted to play a slide on my finger. Let me rephrase that. I hope you play a slide with your finger. I wanted to play a slide on my pinky. However, when I was in first grade, my brother DL was in kindergarten. He made a fort in the front yard off the picket rail fence. I was coming home from school, and yes, I was old enough to have one of the metal lunch boxes. Mom hated it, but we used to use them as hammers and beat the snowbanks on the way home and trees and whatever else we could find. But my little brother had a nice fort built, and I saw him hiding underneath the sheet. And he had bikes a little bit out from the picket rail fence, and the sheet going over top of the bikes, the sheet going over the split rail fence. Well, the posts on the split rail fence, he used a cinder block to hold the sheet there. Meanwhile, he was underneath the sheet. I was at the end of the driveway and I saw him in there, so I took off running, chucked my lunchbox, and did my Superman dive in the air to land on top of the sheet. I was hoping to land on top of him and just ruin his fort and ruin his day, because, you know, that's what boys do. And so he proceeded to get out in time, and I came crashing down on his party and wrecked the fort. And meanwhile, as I came through the sheet, this cinder block decided to fall off of the sheet, of course, because I jumped on it, and it landed right on my pinky, and I ended up with what I call my platypus pinky. It does make it a little difficult for stretching. You can stretch it, but stretching on the guitar is a little difficult. So finding a slide has been a challenge for me. I wanted to play on my pinky. I was down at, I can't remember the guitar shop, if it was Grun's. I think it was Grun's, down in Nashville. Whatever one is downtown Nashville, and they're known for having these historic guitars and stuff. The only thing I could afford there was the slide. But they had this cool slide, and so I picked this up. And I'll do some reviews on these slides a little bit later. I saw Johnny Winter playing, and I did some research on slide playing, and I'm like, you can still make some chord shapes if you play with your pinky on slide. So that's what I tried to do over the years. And I can do okay with it, but didn't seem to work too well for Freebird. I just wasn't feeling it, just couldn't get it. And then I had this other, it's called a blues bottle. I think Dunlop makes it. And it fit my ring finger as well as my pinky finger. But I thought I would try it with the ring finger, and that still didn't feel right for Freebird. And so what Dwayne Allman used, Derek Trucks uses, I believe, and many other great slide players, is the standard Corsiden bottle. So I picked one of these up. It's a replica or whatever of the Corsiden bottle, and I play it on my middle finger. And it just, I didn't think it would work. It's all sloppy, barely holds on. You know, you always figure you want something with a little bit of a grip to it so it doesn't slide off your finger, but this seems to work pretty good for me on Freebird, so I'm going to roll with the old Corsiden glass bottle for the slide work. But what's neat is Tom Segura showed us some cool tricks. The bird chirps at the beginning. I used to play it like this. I used to play it which is okay, while muting the strings with this hand down here. So I'm trying to hold the guitar up so you can see it in the camera, and this is not how I play. You mute the strings here, and then you take the glass slide with the open end right here, and you Here's some tones. Yes, I'm gonna have to practice my chops, especially for slide work. So the other thing I wanted to talk about on this guitar is right here. If you look at the 1977 live playing of Freebird, I believe it was in California, and anyways, Gary Rossington would stick a nail or Gary Rossington would stick a nail or a piece of I think fret wire or whatever he could find behind stage or whatever. I happen to have this piece of metal. It was down in my basement. I just found it down there, and I brought it up in the shop and sanded it. Anybody, you could do it with anything really. Take it and slide it. He plays with it on the first fret here. I really liked this piece of metal because it had that bent angle on it right here. That meant when I was playing slide work, I could leave it in the guitar, and then I actually had a bit of a handle to quickly slide it out. But the thing is over time it will beat your guitar up. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was sticking it up here by the nut, and he plays with it down here just below the first fret, slides it in the first fret, and then it goes up to where it hits. And if you look at the video, which I'll try to show a picture of it here, you can see when you're looking at the video that you can actually see the fret above the piece of metal he has stuck in there. So yeah, like I said, I just took this in the shop, sanded it. I started off with like 60 grit so that I could get it as smooth as possible. Even, you know, and the ends here were cut. You could use a little file to get it rounded over. Started with 60 grit, and then I have those micro mesh pads that you can get at Stu Mac, and I used those and sanded this down to, I think it was 12 thousandths grit, and it basically looks like a piece of hardware off the guitar now. And this thing was all rusty, nasty looking in the basement. I think it was even bent. I had to straighten it out a little bit. But yeah, so you can do that with any piece of metal. You will have to buy some of those micro mesh things depending on how much you want to polish it. You can go out as far as auto body sandpaper. I think like 3,000. They might go more. I think it's 3,000 grit, and that'll be fine too. You just want to take it easy sliding it in there. It will chew up your fretboard if you don't have it smoothed out. But yeah, so I bring the action up for the slide, so it makes it easier to play just like Gary Rossington did, and I believe the tones are there as well because it actually puts the guitar into a different key when I do that. The E becomes an F when you slide this in there. I don't know why, but my low E string was reading F sharp with this, but anyways, yeah, it becomes a little bit of a different tuning when you use this. So a Corsidian bottle and a piece of wire shoved in there. You probably don't need the wire, but it does make it easier to slide. And then humbucker in the neck position, especially for the slide work. When you're doing the bird chirps, I found it was easier to put it in the dual humbuckers. As for the amps I'm using a Marshall SV20 head going directly into the aux, and all stock configurations on the mics. I didn't mess with anything. I picked the 4x12 Greenback 25 thick cabinet. I got it set to 100 watts. The speaker drive, I just turned that completely off. No delay, no reverb. For the pedals, I'm using a J-Rocket Archer pedal. Set just a bit of a boost. Here's just the amp. And here's the J-Rocket Archer. the clean. And the Vemoram Jan Ray. Okay, now there isn't much difference, but here's just the amp. This is both pickups, by the way. Okay, and then here's both the pedals stacked for that sound that I'm going after. So you can hear that's giving it all the grit that I want. And the amp, I've got the volume set 4 on the normal and 3 on the bright. The presence is 3, number 3, not 3 o'clock. The bass is number 8, middle number 8, and I've got the treble down to about 3. Everyone out there watching Schopfield Music, we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Please hit like, subscribe, and bell it. We're new, we're novice, and we just want to have fun and hang out. Thanks for watching. May I trigger you? This bird's gonna fly. Cheers.
Hey, do us a favor. Please subscribe to Schopfield Music. Otherwise, we can't get out of this screen.
Yes, help us.
We're stuck here.
Save our souls.
Please, save us.
Like, subscribe, and bell it, yo. Cheers.